Hey everyone, my name's Dan. Please enjoy my first video. Hey, do you remember Agent Cody Banks? And don't mind the audio quality. This is just a start, and things will get better in the future.
Fun fact, growing up, I was never the biggest Bond fan. I saw the movies, I rented them from my library mostly. That's where I saw all the Connerys. I remember watching the Bronson films, but I never saw an actual Bond in the cinema until Casino Royale in 2006. But I never had my own Bond. Somebody that us kids could relate to. The only secret agents for us back then were animated, so anything that was much more to real life, or at least in live action, was an extreme novelty. But then came Spy Kids, that's right. Those reckless little tweens who fought villains and then usually reformed them. To be honest, Spy Kids was very important to kids growing up because it was like we had some agents that were of our own size and age. I remember seeing Spy Kids in the cinema with my brother and my mother. We absolutely loved it at the time. We also saw the sequels. But now, let's talk about another secret agent. One that was a little older, but still we could relate to. That's Agent Cody Banks. Agent Cody Banks to me is kind of peculiar because he's a talking guy who really his only biggest issue is that he can't talk to girls. Oh! Slow down! When he gets around them, he freezes. He's got loads of problems. But otherwise, he's a really cool secret agent. So, I haven't seen Cody Banks in some years. I remember watching the movies quite a bit, both of them. So, how does Cody Banks hold up in the modern era of Lens and me being a grown up adult and not really, feeling all the recklessness that he was getting himself into? Well, let's find out. Agent Cody Banks is your typical kids and piss fart jokes era comedy from the early 2000s. It's held up in a very, very, very strange way. But it's not surprising at all because you'd expect movies from that era to not hold up so great when you're a kid. But some of them hold up much better, but Cody Banks isn't really one of them. It is kind of fun though. Mostly it's nostalgia talking. I really missed when I didn't have to worry about the end of the world happening. Oh my god. Bond spy parodies have existed as far back as the 1960s when Bond first came out. There was the Derek Flint movies, the Dean Martin Matt Helm movies, and more recently, and in modern times, Austin Powers, and even more similar young audience appealing flicks like Spy Kids. You gonna move? Those films are possibly the easiest to get right and the most horrible to get wrong when you don't get them right. Agent Cody Banks lies somewhere in the middle, and that unlike those other spies, Cody Banks is a teenager. Stars Frankie Muniz as the titular Cody Banks. Frankie Muniz was paid a then record $2 million for his performance, which made him the highest paid child/teen star since Macaulay Culkin, which really does not speak well of how this industry treats child actors and child performers in general. Cody Banks is your typical suburban teen. He's got a little bit of a crabby brother, clueless parents. He's constantly bullied, and he's a pet guinea pig. Remember when all those kids wanted pet guinea pigs? Only Cody's got a secret. He's a secret agent. You see, as part of an effort to stop crime and do things a little differently and curb up and stop villainy, the CIA has been recruiting child agents to stop villainy. It's been, for the most part, very successful, but now Cody has really met his match. The CIA, led by the most CIA-laden actor out there, Keith David, seriously, his character in this and Mr. and Mrs. Smith might as well be the same, has recruited him to look after the daughter of Dr. Connors. Oh my god, the lizard! Played by Hilary Duff. But as you can see where it's going, eventually Cody and Natalie, they start to like each other more and more, and Cody gets close to her. But hey, everything's gonna be fine. They start to like each other more and more, and Cody gets close to her, mostly in a very, very awkward fashion, in that Cody saves her from from nearly getting, falling off a falling building, and then they really start hitting it off. Cody's assisted by Agent Veronica Miles, played by TV's Angie Harmon, and Veronica Miles is a character who's constantly introduced with a "Oh my God, you're so sexy" song. Like literally every time she enters a room, there is some tune playing that is clearly meant to imply that she is hot. To be fair, she is hot. But seriously, humor much? I remember mostly because I remember this era of Hilary Duff very well. I was watching Lizzie McGuire at the time, and because one of my friends was into Hilary Duff, I heard her album quite a bit when I was with him in his car once. And also that Rain song she did back in like 2004, 2005. I remember playing on the radio consistently when I was working on a little mass thing for a parade once, and it drove me really, really crazy. I wanted to punch a wall because I heard that song like, I don't know, 20 times. That station only played the same 30 tunes over again ad nauseum. So Cody and Natalie had to work together to stop the weirdly, vaguely ethnic and evil Dr. Brinkman, played by Ian McShane. Dr. Brinkman's plan is, as you can expect, to take over the world! As I was watching the movie, Dr. Brinkman's assistant slash henchman was very familiar to me. I thought for a second, hey, is that Arnold Vosloo? I go to look online and voila, it is Arnold Vosloo. Wow, what a mummy I was. And also, this henchman is extremely persistent. This guy's got nerves of steel. Seriously, even after Dr. Brinkman ends up inflating himself and basically killing himself at the end, he's still chasing Cody and Natalie down a wintry slope. Wow, does this guy never give up or something? Gotta admit I like that.
Well, if you think about it.
Hey, fun fact, did you know this movie was produced by Madonna and executive produced by Jason Alexander? Yes, that Jason Alexander. He was even attached to direct it at one point, back when he was still very serious about his directing career. So, Cody Banks was not a huge success, but it was moderately successful. Produced on a budget of about $25 million, it made over $50 million.
On the contrary,
Um, and it was part of an attempt by MGM to produce more mid-budget slash lower budgeted films targeted more towards the tween and younger demographic. Remember when mid-budget movies were a thing? God, I miss the good old days. So then, as a result, we got a sequel, Agent Cody Banks 2: Destination London. And as a kid, I remember enjoying this one more than the first. But in retrospect, it kind of falls into the same sequel trap that you would expect the first film to be more of, which is basically be bigger, louder, and more overt than the first in terms of its family film stuff. This time, Natalie is nowhere to be found. I didn't, but it was such a beautiful relationship. How could it have not lasted? But they were really going for the James Bond thing of, he's got a new love interest. But Veronica is nowhere to be found either. Instead, Cody is assisted by a new secret agent played by Anthony Anderson. Yes, this was the era when he was getting atop the billing in certain films. Oh God, I missed that. You remember that very well, don't you?
oh, slow down.
And this time he's recruited to take down Victor Diaz, a secret agent who is basically holding all these powers right for his own nefarious means. So Cody has to go bigger than he's ever gone before. In fact, he has to go specifically to Destination London. He has to go undercover and to stop Diaz. And helping him, of course, is the Anthony Anderson agent who pretends to be pretends to be a cook at the school they go to.
To be honest,
So this leads Cody to go to this school that is basically full of stereotypes. The thing I did like about this film compared to the first is that Cody's love interest, Emily, is more overtly kick-ass and involved in the action because she's a Scotland Yard detective. Though, in retrospect, they take their sweet time revealing that she's a Scotland Yard detective. And I was looking up what the actress has been in since then, and apparently she was a member of the group S Club 7. Now, if you don't remember S Club 7, they were pretty big in the UK, but over here they only ever had one major hit. I've never had a dream come true. It's incredibly, incredibly forgettable. I don't even remember if I ever heard it on the radio. That's how much it just passed me by. So I do like Emily. But so Cody stops the villain, the day is saved, blah blah blah, everybody goes back. And things are looking great. But unfortunately, Destination London was not a hit, especially not compared to the first.
but hey, everything's gonna be fine.
About $28 million on a $25 million budget, which does not scream successful to me. In fact, it probably lost MGM a boatload of money, which is why we never got a third film, which is a shame, as I would have loved to have seen Agent Cody Banks 3. Cody Banks Goes Bananas. But hey, Amazon owns MGM now. If you're listening to this video, any Amazon executive, I got an idea for an Agent Cody Banks reboot. Call me up. But yeah, Agent Cody Banks passed me by. I grew out of it, and I eventually got into more James Bond. But in the back of my mind, I could still think of the sleuth little teenager secret agent, and I can think of him in positive terms. So yeah, it was a wonderful time. I miss you, Cody Banks. Anyway, I'm Dan. Goodbye. This was fun.